I'll be right down.
Hi guys, so my name is Rapayan. I'm here to teach you guys about some of the foundations about web development and really computer science. This is going to be a fun time. I really enjoy teaching the basics and stuff like that. I think it's a really important topic to cover. I know that some of you might be here and you might be like seniors in course 6, maybe. I don't know why you'd be here, but maybe you want to learn about development. But yeah, like maybe you already know programming, and so a lot of this might be a lot of review. But there are also people here that definitely have like no experience in programming, and that's completely okay. That's kind of the point of this class. It's definitely going to be a crash course. We're going to be zooming through a lot of material pretty fast, but I think you guys can do it. So as always, make sure to ask questions. You can raise your hand and just ask me. You don't have to use that doc. But that doc is for if you're like too nervous or something and want to do that. That's totally okay. Piazza, again, is a useful resource, and of course you can email WebLab staff at any point in time, and we'll try to respond as soon as possible. So can I just actually get a raise of hands while we're waiting for this and I'm stalling for time? Can I get a raise of hands for people who have done any kind of web development in the past? Raise your hand. Oh, okay, all right. So a good number of people already have some background. Can I get a raise of hands with anyone who's done any kind of programming in, if you know what this means, an object-oriented programming language, or just really just programming anything like Java, JavaScript, Python, C, or anything like that. Raise your hand. Wow, awesome. Okay, cool. So I'll probably speed through some of the lectures in JavaScript, which is tomorrow. But again, if you are having trouble with any of this stuff, feel free to come to office hours, feel free to ask questions. All right, it's working. Lovely. Thank you. So don't worry, I know you guys are hungry for food. We're going to have food for all you guys. Lunch is always provided. But that will be here pretty soon. So before we do that, I thought I'd just take a quick dive into the beginning of the material I have for you guys, and we'll continue and pick up where we stopped in this afternoon. So first of all, this is going to be a lecture about HTML and CSS. But really, it's going to be a lecture about web development. Okay? Because this is the first course, and you should get excited, where we're actually going to be doing some programming and doing some like actual coding and things like that. You're going to be hopefully learning some new things. And I promise you, even if you have been programming for a while, you probably will learn something you didn't know today. So that should be exciting. So yeah, my take on web development, okay? And what that is this. There's always some tool that makes your life easier. And we're going to be covering a lot of material in this class, but you're going to see this theme over and over again, where we're going to do something really simple or do something really low level, and you're going to think like, hey, that was kind of repetitive, or hey, that was kind of unnecessarily hard. And yeah, that's right, because there will be an easier way to do it, probably tomorrow or something like that. And this is something that's kind of true universally in web development. If you think it's hard, there is something out there that someone has made that makes it easier. And if someone hasn't made it, you should make it because you can make a lot of money. But yeah, that's kind of the theme of web development. So we'll see that as we move along. So we're going to talk today, first off, about HTML. And this obviously stands for high-tech machine learning, right? No. It stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It's basically the language your web browser uses to describe the content and structure of web pages. Yay, that's a mouthful. So yeah, here's my take on HTML. That's too much for me. HTML is just a bunch of nested boxes. Yeah. Alright, what does that mean? So we have this lovely website that we've been talking about today called XKCD. And XKCD is a really good example of a fun, very simple website that demonstrates the power of HTML using nested boxes. Because you can see we have one large box, that is the screen, basically, that's the display, what you see in your browser. Then there's a smaller box inside of it, that's like the content of the page. And then there's more boxes inside of it, and then more boxes, and more boxes, and more boxes, and more boxes. And so you can see this is all HTML is. It's just a bunch of boxes inside of each other. And so this is kind of what it looks like. And for those of you who maybe have never seen any kind of code before, this can look a little daunting, a little menacing, a little weird, but don't worry, we'll break it down line by line, step by step, so that you guys can understand exactly kind of what's going on. So this is the HTML, the code that we have, and this is what it looks like in a browser, so in Chrome, okay? And the idea is that you can kind of already see some parallels between the code and what's on the web browser. So you can see like the title, and there's a title up there, and heading, and paragraph, and there's all these weird like angle brackets around it. It's like, I'm trying to be cool, but no. It's like, it's just really simple once you think about it. So we'll start off with the first line, which is this weird kind of line that has an angle bracket and then an exclamation mark. It's really excited about yelling, doc type. No, like, it's just a thing that you do in every single HTML document. Why? Don't ask. I don't know. It's just there. So this is the kind of thing that you'll start to notice happens a lot in programming. There are some syntactical things which basically just you need to write because that's how the language is described. So yeah, this just basically says that this is an HTML document. Okay? And then we have these two things. Now, no, I actually highlighted two lines, not just one line, because that's one trait about HTML, that a lot of the things you write in HTML comes in pairs. And this is called an HTML tag, right? And basically, what it describes is there's one that opens the tag, it's called an opening tag, and one that closes the object, which is called a closing tag. And in between those two tags, there's content, right? And so, as you can see, you write it very similarly. The only difference is instead of just having the word inside the angle brackets for the closing tag, you put a forward slash in front of it. And so what does this mean? What is this for? Well, you can start to see how the structure of the document starts to reflect the structure of the website in these kind of nested boxes. So you can see these two HTML tags at the very edges of the document kind of create a container. And then inside it there are more containers, like the head and the body, and inside those there are more containers, more boxes just nested inside of each other. The one thing about HTML tags is that you can't do this right here. This is not allowed. Basically what it is if you just look at it real quick, it's I opened a tag in between the opening and closing of another tag, but then close it outside of them. And that's basically in like our little image of nested boxes, all it is kind of overlapping two boxes, but not actually having one be completely inside of another. And this you cannot do. If you write this, your HTML will be sad, Chrome will complain at you, and it will not work, okay? So make sure that when you're writing this code, you make sure that things start and end inside one of these boxes. And so here we can see, we're now going to look at the head and the body. These are two new tags, and basically we can look at the head first. So the head is basically these two tags that I just mentioned, by the way, head, body, and also HTML. These are going to be in basically every HTML document that you create. Every single time you create a new website or a web page, you're going to have these things because they're super important. The head basically says, this is general information about the page. Nothing inside the head actually will physically show up on the website, but it might affect things in the browser, like the title in the tab. So on Chrome, when you have the tab at the top, you can actually see that the title reflects that little title up there. It's also good for other kind of metadata, information about the page that isn't related to the actual content on the page. And you'll see why this is useful in a little bit, but just to understand that for now. And then there's the body of the page, and that, of course, represents the whole, everything you see on the website. The content, the structure, okay, the nested boxes, really. And so you can see there's the heading. This is in an H1 tag, so this is a new tag that we haven't talked about yet. This is basically, H1 stands for a heading of the first order, basically. All it basically means it's a big heading. You can go from H1 to I think H6 or 7 or something like that. And basically they just get smaller and smaller as you go. And so you can see that by putting this text heading in between these two tags, again, we're opening a tag, putting something in between, closing it, everything inside those two tags is basically what you call an H1. And so you can see this text is pretty big. It's like bolded. It looks like a heading. And similarly, the P tag stands for the paragraph. It basically is good for text, like regular text. That's not a heading. And if you put multiple P tags one after another, it'll create a new line between each one, kind of making a paragraph for it. And that's that. That's a website. That wasn't that complicated, right? That was pretty simple. Obviously, it gets a lot more complicated than this, but this is just the start. And with this kind of information, you can already start to see, like, you can make a little website for yourself. You can put your name, you can put your email address, you can give yourself a little description. And we'll be doing this actually today. We'll be creating your very first cat book profile today, so that should be exciting. But yeah, just to recap, these are the very basic HTML elements that we just covered. There's the HTML tag, the body tag, the head tag, I don't know why I said it in that order, and then header tags, which is H1, H2, H3, and so forth, and paragraph tags. And remember that these three, the first three, are always super important, will be in every HTML document that you make, usually. Sometimes not, but we will talk about it later. But first off, before I continue, these slides, again, I know people have been asking about this on Piazza, emailing us on the question doc. These slides will be available online on our website, so don't worry, you can always access this and go back and check this after lecture. There will also be a video of the whole lecture available online. So if you ever need to kind of refresh your memory on any of this stuff, it'll be available for you guys. And then, the other thing, anyone have any questions so far? Because again, you can feel free to just ask me. No? I must be doing a great job. Okay, cool. Alright, so next up, let's see what time it is. Okay, is food here? Hello, anyone?
I will let you know when it is. I'll raise my hand when it is.
He will let me know when it's ready. So we'll just keep going. So, next thing we'll talk about is something called HTML attributes. So here we have like some kind of tag, right? Tag name is not an actual tag, it's just like an example, it's filler text for a tag. And as you kind of remember, the structure is you have an opening tag and a closing tag. And then everything inside is content that is like you want to show inside that tag. But sometimes you maybe want to have information associated with a tag and you don't actually want to show it on the web page. And this might be like, why would I want to do this? What is this for? Well, we'll get to that in a second, but this is kind of what it looks like. So the way you create HTML attributes is you just have the attribute name and a value for the attribute name just inside the opening tag. So you can see there's the tag, this could be like an HTML tag, could be a paragraph tag, and you give some attribute name, and then you set it equal to something in quotations, which is the value. Okay? And this is abstract, but this is kind of what it's for. This is what you're using it for, which is inserting links. Because think about it. Somewhere in your web page, you have to say, where does this link point to? And this is where you put it. So if we want to create something like this, a link to WebLab, we would have something like this. Basically, the A tag is a link tag. Why? Anchor. Anchor, that's why, there it is, yeah. Someone knows it. But yeah, so the A tag is meant to link you to different pages online or in your website. And so you have this attribute called href. And the value is kind of the pointer or the link to wherever you want to go. So for example, if we wanted to go to weblab.mit.edu, we'd have this kind of code and it would create this kind of link. Yeah, and you can see it's very nice. As soon as you create one of these elements, it's already the default like blue underlined. When you hover over it, your mouse cursor becomes a little clicky thing that says like, hey, you can click on this. This all happens just by adding this single element, which is really nice. You can also link to things that are not on the web. So if you see this one, we did like the fully specified web address with http://weblab.mit.edu. But you can also link to pages that are just in your web app. So if you have another HTML document in the same folder as this document, you can just link to that. And don't worry, we'll be talking a little bit more about this again when we start building our own web app in our workshop. one last specific tag that we have here that's pretty useful is images. Obviously, you're going to have images on your profile, you're going to have images probably on your website, super useful. And this also uses an HTML attribute. So yeah, this is an example of an image tag, except there's something wrong about this. Does anyone know what's wrong about this?
Yeah.
You can raise your hand. Anyone? Yell. Anyone know? Okay, well, you don't close image tags. So this is actually a kind of an interesting quirk. Like I said, HTML has a lot of weird syntactical tricks. And yeah, it's kind of weird why some things are the way they are. And there's probably a good explanation for it if you Google it. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But for now, just remember that when you create images, you don't need to close them. So just have the opening tag and that's it. And so yeah, you can see that if you just do something like that, you can get a nice GIF going in your web page. GIF, not GIF. What's up?
To be technically valid, you need a slash at the end.
Huh?
To be technically valid, you need a slash at the end of your tag.
Do what?
Before the superior sign.
Which,
You
sorry?
don't close it, but you need a slash at the before the superior sign.
Okay. We'll look
It
into
works,
that.
but the real syntax, if you want to be dual to receive valid, you need that.
Okay. I'm just not going to try and confuse anyone right now. So if that, we'll look into that and we'll update the slides if that's correct. Thank you. Cool. So yeah. But it's pretty simple. I think this works. You can basically just have this tag, and yeah, GIFs are totally fine. It doesn't need to be just like JPEGs, it can be PNGs, it can be anything really. And yeah, so that's how that works. The one thing about this is that, again, this is kind of a link or a reference to some image. And this image can be, like if we're just giving a file name, it has to be in the same folder as these HTML document that you created. So you can see in our app, we have a folder, and in it is hello.html. We also need to have this image called pusheen.gif. And of course, if you had it in a subfolder, such as something such as images, you would want to now redefine that link basically to be relative to where your document is, so just images slash pusheen.gif. And this can also just be like an image on the web. That's totally okay. This could be like HTTP something. So yeah, some more tags. All right, seems like we're still going. Some more tags. We have lists. Okay, lists are pretty important on websites if you want to basically enumerate a bunch of things or just highlight a bunch of things in a list. You use something called ordered lists or unordered lists. Ordered lists are just like something like 1, 2, 3, like A, B, C. Unordered lists are just bullets. And then you use LI for list item. I don't know if you saw in the video, some of those pancakes were just going by in lists. It was pretty fun. Took a really long time to make, but it was enjoyable. So you can see that we have our website here, and we have created an unordered list, a UL, which stands for that. But you can see there's nothing actually on the website, and that's because, well, there's nothing in the list. So if we start adding items, you can see it just pops up. It looks very nice, nice bulleted list. And we can just keep adding items to our list just like that. Finally, these are some of the most important HTML elements that I think. You guys probably won't understand the use of them maybe super soon, but they become very useful as we'll soon see. But yeah, so there's two basically tags called div and span. Okay? And a div kind of represents a block section in a document, and a span kind of represents an inline section in a document. This sounds kind of weird because so far we've been talking about things that are very explicitly defined as what they're for. So like images are for images, paragraphs are for paragraphs, what are these for? And well, we can kind of start to see what this actually does. So if we put a div wrapping around these two elements that we have, the h1 and the paragraph tags, you can see that nothing actually changes in our document. Like you can see that nothing changes visually. But basically the div is now representing a box basically around these two elements, okay? And this can be useful when you maybe want to start making styles. When you want to start like making your website look pretty, maybe you want to make like an outline around this box, or maybe you want to start coloring everything inside the box red or blue or green or pink or fuchsia or something. And so these divs are useful for basically organizing your HTML and making your code a little easier to understand, easier to read. And we'll get more to that again when we get to our workshop. And then finally we have span, and this is kind of a mysterious tag. You're probably wondering, like, what is this for? Like an inline section? And so we're going to take a little tangent from just explaining like a bunch of different tags, and I'm going to tell you the real way to learn web dev, because it's not just like looking at every single tag or a list of tags, and I'm not going to lecture all of them to you. So the real way to learn web dev is Google. Okay, Google is super useful. So we can Google HTML span and get a bunch of nice results. Sometimes Google even gives you a nice little card that tells you what it is. And then you read it and you learn. Yeah, it has no meaning at all. Great, I've learned so much. But no, like honestly, there's a bunch of really, really good resources online. You're definitely gonna hit up W3 schools in your time when you're looking things up, as well as the Mozilla Developer Network. And also Stack Overflow, of course, has a bunch of answers to your questions. For those of you who don't know what Stack Overflow is, it's like I don't know, a question-answer forum kind of thing. Ask Jeeves, but for code. I don't know. So yeah, that's basically it for HTML. Wow, we like ran through that. But does anyone have any questions about HTML? Anyone? Anything's fair game. Are you just stretching? He's just stretching. All right. Well, with that, I think we're probably pretty good. Food will be ready very soon. We'll continue after lunch with CSS, and then after that, we'll actually start getting to some coding, which should be pretty fun. You guys will be making your profile for Catbook. So yeah, see you guys in a bit.